Quick update. This is Greg Harmon at Deceleration. Deceleration.news had ran over to Woodlawn Lake yesterday. A friend of ours, a local birder and advocate, had texted that the city's war on birds had moved over to Woodlawn. Now, some of y'all who are here in San Antonio are familiar. When I say war on birds, you might think Elmendorf Lake. So a couple years ago, we started seeing flyering in the neighborhood and the communities that they were preparing to dislodge, encourage, push out the cattle egrets there that have roosted in Elmendorf Lake, this kind of Westside ecological gem, for many decades. At least 40 years, we're thinking there is a major rookery at Elmendorf Lake on the west side. And so the justification being that the Air Force had some incidents, collisions or near collisions with cattle egrets. It turns out that they were about one a year. They could clock a cattle egret over the Kelly airfield. Compared with other species, it's like a drop in the bucket. And how they link these particular birds back to this lake 5 miles away there's a tremendous amount of uncertainty there. But anyway, so the eviction process here at Deceleration, we started writing about it. Marisol wrote 2 long-form essays in May or the middle kind of 2019. We went out and we chronicled the eviction. We had an open letter by Kamala Platt to Shirley Gonzalez in September. Their website, the campaign Save Bird Island, savebirdisland.com, went up shortly thereafter. And here you'll hear some sounds from that eviction.
Cattle egrets predominantly will nest here and raise their young, or have historically. There's a lot of other birds that come along with them and have made this their home. We see Louisiana night-crown herons, blue herons, great egrets, snowy egrets, cormorants, various ducks.
So, in spite of the resistance that community did wage, that this island was basically just razed. There's a couple of trees that are still up, and essentially it was kind of what would you say, sterilized. Hundreds of nests were taken out of these trees. Thousands of birds, we think, were displaced. And so yesterday I got a call from Alesia. We've this time tracked the Parks Department, working with USDA, evicting, harassing, using lasers, pyrotechnics, firecracker type, sounds, and louder. Not just in Elmendorf, but we caught them in Southtown, San Antonio, on the San Antonio River, working with their lasers and poppers and all of that. They've been at Brackenridge and now Woodlawn Lake, where I sat out with Alesia and just kind of caught up with her while we observed several, maybe a dozen or more pairing Louisiana night-crown herons making their nests. One mother who's obviously already laid out across her eggs. So first of all, I guess, tell me what we're looking at right now.
These are Yellow-Crown Night Herons. They migrate to San Antonio from as far away as South America. They come here to nest.
What's he doing?
Yeah,
here?
he's taking her a twig to build her nest.
He's got his feathers.
See, yeah.
Feathers.
See, but because they cut a lot of the small branches, it's hard for them to make a nest.
Okay.
So they're doing the best they can.
They come from
South America.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're considered endangered in New Jersey. They go all the way up there to nest.
Yeah.
The oldest one, according to All About Birds, was 6 years and 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have a long lifespan, if that's true.
Yeah. And so there's a sign across the park that says the city is going to be, we know pyrotechnics, light and sound devices to try to drive. Who are they targeting?
Cattle egrets is what the sign says. It says cattle egrets are roost at Woodlawn Lake Park and Elmendorf Lake Park are a threat to aircraft.
Threat to aircraft.
Right.
Okay.
There are no aircraft coming over here.
Yeah.
You can see. And the night herons don't go anywhere during the day. They just sit here, and then at night they go feed, and that's all they do. They don't go anywhere.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I ran over here when you told me about the sign because I guess it's been a couple years maybe that one of these signs first went up in San Antonio that I'm aware of, and that was at Elmendorf Lake where they had targeted cattle egrets. The city had a story around that, but I wonder if you could kind of like describe that process and if it's possible. In that case, I mean, it was one of the largest rookeries in San Antonio, totally destroyed, and ostensibly because of the cattle egrets, but you know, everything left, right? I mean,
right. Well, what they did is they observed cattle egrets or flocks of cattle egrets flying over the base of Kelly Field, the flight line, twice a day, morning and noon, obviously when they're feeding. So they figured that they go to Elmendorf, so get rid of the birds that way. They did provide the public with a misrepresentation of facts. They told the public there were 50 bird strikes a year, and then the Shirley Gonzalez councilwoman said there were 100 bird strikes in 2018. The facts from JBSA that there were 8 bird strikes from 2010 to 2017.
You're talking about Joint Base San Antonio that oversees all the operations and
correct. Sorry, JBSA.
Yeah.
So there were only actually 8 bird strikes from 2010 to 2017.
Now, is that total, or is that with
that was
cattle
total
egrets?
Cattle egrets.
Okay, all cattle egrets.
Cattle egrets.
Okay,
That's all there was. And so, but they misrepresented the facts, and they told the public there were 50 bird strikes a year. Well, guess what? Those were other species.
Yeah.
And then they said there were 100 bird strikes at the international airport. Those were other species, because the only cattle egret bird strike at the San Antonio International Airport was on 4/13/2017. That's the only one they've had.
The only cattle egret.
Yes,
but I looked at that time when they started. So what they'll do, they came out, and they would use they were using clapper sticks. They had young service members from the base come out, and they were teaching them to use these clapper sticks to disrupt the birds when they were trying to nest at night. They were using eventually used laser pointers, fireworks, kind of flashbang type stuff. And so I started looking at some of the numbers like you're describing. The San Antonio International Airport, thousands of birds, a year. I mean, this is mostly like vultures and
they're doves and meadowlarks, other species, not the egrets or herons.
Yeah.
The pyrotechnic explosives are considered an explosive explosives by the DOT. I think it's 1.4 S. The noise level is 130 decibels, which it exceeds the city's own San Antonio noise ordinance of I think it's 85 decibels or something. So you're talking about 130 decibels that these people are going to be traumatized with, and the wildlife. And it doesn't just include birds, because obviously dogs, cats, everyone's going to be affected by the noise. But being a bird city, Texas now, why are we messing with birds? And two, they're night herons, and they don't go anywhere.
Yeah, these are gorgeous birds, by the way.
They're beautiful when they're nesting.
They have these bright, like white or yellow plumes that come it's like there's a history of these fancy plumes, right? Where 100 years ago they were packing them in barrels, by the ton, right?
Birds.
This was fancy dress stuff, but they're gorgeous birds, and I'm thinking back just over the narrative here. So that the city begins this, or blesses this operation to dislodge, to drive out the ostensibly these herons,
cattle egrets.
Cattle egrets, yeah, and essentially raise an island. One of the most an ecological gem, I would say, of the west side of San Antonio, but. They didn't leave it there, right? That season came to an end. The birds were gone. The island was clear cut, almost sterilized. And then and then all of a sudden these same people from, was it Fish and Wildlife or
USDA Wildlife Services.
Wildlife Services. They show up in Southtown of San Antonio by the Blue Star, and they're pointing their lasers at the birds and the trees in Southtown. They come over to Woodlawn Lake, Brackenridge Park. How do you understand this is like a war on birds in San Antonio.
Somebody in parks doesn't like the egrets. I heard in 2018 some of the girls that worked in the office said their boss said they had an egret problem. So it's obviously an effort to get rid of birds. According to Bill Pennell, which is from Parks, is to get them away from all their amenities. Realistically,
amenities being places that people
any park,
like to go.
Yeah, okay. It's any park,
and birds like to go too.
Birds go to the park. People go to the park to see birds.
Yeah.
There's photographers that come. One guy comes from the East Coast to take pictures of the egrets when they nest.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I'm gonna have to shoot some video of that. Yeah. So you should. There are families on the other side of this pond from us, right at the Josephine Tobin Drive sign as you come in on Cincinnati, and they're just throwing out gobs of bread, which it's not the best, bad for the birds, but loving the heck out of all of these little. What are these pin?
Those are shovelers, northern shovelers that have migrated here for the winter. They'll be leaving soon, and then you got your mallards.
Oh, those are the mallards? Okay.
The mallards are the big ones.
Yeah, what are the little ones?
There's a couple of gadwalls. The shovelers are the dark and the brown ones.
Yeah.
And then there's some whistling ducks, which are regular ducks.
And then above us, how many of these night-crown heron have you counted?
There's 30 birds. They only have 13 nests.
Yeah.
The one has sitting on eggs for 3 days. There's also a red-shouldered hawk, which is protected by the state of Texas, has a nest.
Yeah.
So realistically, they shouldn't be disturbing these birds at all, of course, into Parks and Wildlife. But we know Parks and Rec is sometimes, or a lot of times, not, regulations may be sometimes overlooked. We know that from the spray. They use the spray for 4 months.
I think that's important. I mean, some of this stuff is going to be on the Deceleration site from some, years back, and we've written a bit about it, and maybe we can link out again. But for folks who are hearing this for the first time and aren't familiar with San Antonio at all, gosh, we first met you. It's been a few years, and it was because of chemical spray being used in Brackenridge Park before the war on the rookery, or the great eviction of these hundreds of birds at Elmendorf. But you kind of were letting people know, raising an alarm over this chemical spray they were using in Brackenridge Park. Can you describe that a little bit and how that conversation advanced?
They had 2 sprayers set up in the park which fogged every 3 minutes around the clock. So there was a fog around Brackenridge Park for 4 months in 2018. The parks thought it was okay to spray people without their knowledge because the public was never notified or aware or gave permission to be sprayed with anything. So after just researching it, found out that the spray was EPA registered pesticide, which was not to be used near people, not to have contact
Smells
with
good,
you.
Though.
No, it's supposed to smell like grapes, but it's actually compound, whatever.
It's supposed to make you feel sick a little bit.
Yeah, it's not supposed to have contact with your skin. You're not supposed to inhale it. Can cause, I had burns to my eyes, chemical burns to my eyes. My esophagus started to close because you can have an allergic reaction to it. But they used it for 4 months in Brackenridge. The first fur cause inspection by the U.S. Department of Agriculture found them out of compliance. They didn't even have a licensed applicator using it. It was somebody.
Who was responsible for it? Again, is
Parks
this the Parks Department?
Yes.
Okay.
And so then they were shut off, and then they had hired Orkin, the Orkin man, to do it. But I don't think he knew that they got in trouble. So he was found. He received a notice of violation for improper use of a pesticide. Mm-hmm. That was mainly because of the endangered species in the park nearby. Mm-hmm. I mean, in the zoo next door. Yeah. But eventually, the city did get a notice of violation for improper use of a pesticide. and that was done there. But then they were spraying at Elmendorf next.
Yeah. So at Brackenridge, was this also cattle egrets?
It was cattle egrets, snowy egrets, little blue herons, tricolored herons, great egrets.
But we don't know who they were targeting at this point, do we?
No, they were just trying to get rid of the birds. I don't think they cared
Yeah.
that 4 species that nest there are
Yeah.
species of greatest conservation need, and the state of Texas receives federal funds to protect the birds from becoming
And
threatened
all of
or
those were
endangered.
nesting.
They were all
yeah.
nesting at Brackenridge. So the birds nested through the spray.
Mm-hmm.
I observed through the spray, and I had a female photographer that had lost her voice and had upper respiratory infection, but she didn't report it where something could have been done. But we went through all that, and they finally did away with it after their 3rd, 4th violation.
I gotta say, when we went over, so Marisol and I went over there a couple of times, and I think maybe even the very first time we were shooting video. So we're on the edge of we're along the river up in the headwaters area, and we're between the zoo, kind of on the edge of the park, and there's a really old playground up there that's like these cement humps.
That's the old bathhouse.
The old bathhouse.
It was converted to a children's playscape, and they were spraying off the roof of that.
Yeah, so we walked over, and it was sealed. It had like a tape over it. You're not supposed to go in here. But there were families with their kids, and they're climbing all over it, and the spray was being, the unit was up there on top of the playground, basically.
Yeah, I have video of that. I took video and pictures of families playing and walking by there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So the fact that there was kind of an inconsideration of the public's safety and that aspect. I mean, you wanted to say you got to get rid of birds because they poop. Well, all wildlife poops. Mm-hmm. Dog feces has bacteria, I think 2 million bacteria and 1 gram of dog poop. Ducks poop. I mean, people have E. coli. So
that was one of the
stated.
So, I mean, what you're describing, it sounds like when they were selling the Elmendorf eviction to the public, they would talk about, the airfield and collisions, and they would talk about, it's a public health hazard having the birds here. That was one of their arguments, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they put in there something about the water quality, but according to San Antonio River Authority, the email we had on a FOIA was that the water quality was actually pretty good. Yeah. And at Brackenridge, the bacteria does raise a little while they're nesting, but then it goes down because nature takes care of itself.
Yeah. Well, we went out there years ago when I was doing the Master Naturalist program. There was a couple at the school. So Elmendorf Lake, for those who aren't from here familiar, is at the Lady of the Lake University, and they were doing classes there. They had local biology teacher, I think, from the school, where they were doing water sampling and showing us everything that was living in the water. I mean, it was a testing lab, and a wild and healthy one by all appearances.
Yeah, the turtles feed off the droppings. They actually eat, if their chicks fall in the water, that's food for the turtles and the fish. Everything contributes to the ecosystem. Each creature contributes to they provide a service. So to say that these birds are bad for the environment, no, nature takes care of itself. It regulates. The floodwaters come, everything washes away. The seasons change. Not all the birds make it through migration. They probably had about 100 dead cattle egrets when the freeze in the Windcrest this year. Yeah, I just heard about that. So that was a group that stayed over for the winter. Yeah. So that took care of, sorry to say it badly, but that took care of that problem. So we don't know what we're going to have this year, but I do know that the 4 species that the state gets federal funding on contributed or helped the state get millions of dollars. It was 51 million something to keep those birds from becoming threatened or endangered, and somebody needs to start taking account of why are we allowing the city, the USDA to mess with these species if we're getting money to keep them protected, from becoming threatened or endangered.
Well, it's interesting. The other thing that kind of like crosses my mind, I think we were emailing at the time, but with the city's climate action plan that I worked on and helped get a little blurb, in there on biodiversity. When they rolled that plan out earlier, I guess, was it late last year, maybe it was early this year. I have to go back and check, but they a big trumpet that they were sounding was, healthy city, biodiversity, all of these values, but this hasn't stopped. I'm just wondering how when you call regulators, when you call people with the city council members, what kind of response are you getting?
Well, I sent an email to the Office of Sustainability, and I asked. So sustainability involves protecting what we have, right? Our trees, but the city's going around cutting all the trees down and limbs and everything, and guess what those trees give us? Oxygen. Their action plan also talked about conservation. So if we have species that are needing conservation, they're listed by the state, mandated by Congress for conservation efforts. Why are we not looking at that and doing something? Why is this allowed to go on? Cattle egrets are the majority of the birds, but we don't know what we'll have each year because these birds die off during migration.
So what do they tell you if you call the sustainability office or if
they
you call
never
council?
Responded. The last I heard was Bill Pinnell said he had got the email that I sent them and he was going to give me an answer, but of course he hasn't answered because you can't argue with the fact that Congress mandated we receive funds to protect the species from becoming threatened or endangered.
Yeah.
And we got that money. 2019 was $51 million, whatever it's changed, and they're not doing anything to change that.
Was that a one-time payment?
It was every year it was like 10 years, and it's up for renewal in 2024.
Okay.
So I can guarantee you, with the way the COVID affected stuff, if we're going to get any grant money, if it's available, I'm sure Biden will help with some of that. Then we need to be lobbying to get that funds for the state because they don't just use it, I'm sure, for these species. It helps the state overall. So if we're going to help all our species that are species of greatest conservation need to get through funding by Congress, then we need to start showing that we're going to take some action and stop this insanity. Because I sit and watch them, and they're trying to make their nests, and all it is to have a future. My granddaughter's going to be 2. I would like her to see these 20 years from now, but if they only live 6 years and each year we destroy all their nests, then how many are we going to have 20 years from now? I would say that our motto or new slogan should be every nest counts, because some of these species might not be around 20 years from now if we don't do anything.
Gorgeous.
If we don't do anything to make a change.
Yeah.
At Brackenridge, the little blue herons are a species of decline. They're on the red list of species of decline, meaning their populations, if we don't do anything, we're not going to have little blue herons. So same thing, when are we going to do something, and stop this? These birds don't fly. The night herons don't go anywhere. When the snowy herons are nesting at Brackenridge, they don't fly out. The cattle egrets are the only ones that go to the fields and come back.
I wonder, if we weren't, maybe sounds like, based upon what you're saying and what I'm feeling, the signs, the labor, the staff hours, the resources that are thrown at driving these, seems like they're chasing them from one park to another park to another park. And instead, that money could be used. You could have signs up all around this pond out on the lake explaining, hey, this is what that bird is. That's what this sound is, or that's what the smell is, or that's how an ecosystem works. Well,
part of the Bird City Texas program is that you educate the public on your wildlife, your bird species, right? So Brackenridge is the perfect opportunity to talk about those species needing conservation. You put up signs, you have volunteers out there, master naturalists have to volunteer. You have them out there helping if there's carcasses, pick up the carcasses. But talk to people. This is what's going on. This is why we have to take care of you, and this is why we're watching and helping to make conservation efforts, because one, we're going to have that federal funding that will help the state. 2, you're going to help the species, so that we have them 20, 30 years from now. Kids that are small now, they're going to be asking later on if we don't stop the craziness. Well, it's a night heron. Well, those were the birds we had back then, but City San Antonio kept messing with them because they were after cattle egrets, which aren't night herons.
I think there's a couple of ideas that come to mind. One is like we think in terms of taking care of the climate or things like that. It's just about greenhouse gases or this and that, or the planet needs a rich matrix of life. All the entire web of life needs to be taut and strong to support us. For much less like everything else that's going on here. But I think in a city it's easy to say, we can just excavate over here and dump it over there. You get a kind of a mindset where it's not quite, I guess you'd say, holistic. And I'm wondering, just to kind of close out, like your own, I don't know if you have any closing thoughts, and kind of like what drew you to birds to begin with, and how you're feeling about your work today as a photographer, as an advocate.
According to Dr. Daniel Cox of the University of Exeter, birds and nature in general are therapeutic. They bring us happiness. They make cities happier, healthier places to live. So, why not take care of what we have that God gave us to take care of? Why not let people enjoy and tell them why we're doing it? Rockport, Texas has signs everywhere. These are our nesting birds. Don't disturb them. Mm-hmm. It's just that thing with San Antonio is they've never tried to educate the public. Mm-hmm. This is what's going on. There might be droppings, but they're temporary. They're going to be gone after a while, and this is the reason. Mm-hmm. And our state benefits from these birds, believe it or not, from federal funding, $51 million. Mm-hmm. And then not only that, but we have a part in having a future for these birds, these and many other species.
Yeah, I was going to say, just like who has the right? Is it, the power, might make right? If we can do it, does that give us the right to do it? And I'd say, these are neighbors, these are friends, these are family as well. And I can't even tell you like how emotional it was to watch just them tear apart, an entire island of thousands of birds, and where are they going? What comes next? And
the city had no plan on where they were going, so we don't know if that was part of the group, that ended up at Barkenridge. Yeah. Maybe, who knows?
Or
but
Southtown.
The thing is, they need to have a place. If we're a Bird City friendly place, then they need to have you can't chase them out of every park and think that's a reasonable thing to do. Families come to the park to enjoy nature. Bird watchers, $41 billion a year they spend on trips and related expenses. Our tourism is down, so if we're going to be Bird City, then you need to start taking care of the birds.
You can socially distance, you can wear a mask, and you can hang out with the birds.
And look at that. That's just something that's
gorgeous. There he goes. He's going to get some more nesting material. Uh-huh. Well, I'm going to turn this off and turn my camera on these guys and try to shoot a little video.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
It makes me sad, though, because I'm like, I see them struggling to build a nest, and it's like they came thousands of miles only for the city to destroy their nests.
Yeah.
Just because they're assholes and they don't like egrets. Well, guess what? These aren't egrets.
Yeah.